back to our Road to the Championship coverage here on ABC 22 Overtime. I'm Erik Elken outside of AT&T Stadium, site of the National Championship game between Ohio State and Oregon. Earlier in the week, I was joined by former Buckeye Donnie Evege in studio where we talked about this game, but began by talking about the loss to Virginia Tech all the way back when, and asked him how impressed he is by this transformation this Buckeye team has made.
I'm very impressed, and you're right, it is a completely different team. For us to come back, win each game, and win the Big Ten Championship 59-0 versus a quality Wisconsin football team, that's amazing. And then the next game, the first ever playoff system, we beat the #1 team in Alabama the way we did. It's just, and a lot of people didn't feel like we should be in the playoffs.
Right.
So for us to do that, it's amazing. I can't wait for this next game coming up.
This is an unprecedented game for college football, being the first ever playoff. It's game number 15, something that no school has ever had to prepare for. Urban Meyer talked about it at length during the week, about having to really focus on his guys being mentally and physically prepared for this game because it's so demanding to prepare for that extra game. You were obviously a college football player at Ohio State. You played in some big games. You were part of a national championship game atmosphere. But what's it like towards the end of the season and when you're getting into these late games from a physical and mental standpoint?
It's very challenging. You know, your body's beat up, you got the aches and bruises, hopefully no serious injuries that can keep you away from playing the game. And mentally, it's just a lot to take in. Every week we're preparing for the next opponent. We have to know their tendencies and what they want to do before they even do it.
What hurts most at this point? Is it a physical thing that you're beating up, or is it a mental thing? I mean, you have to imagine you're completely drained by the time you get to this point in the year.
I would say right now for these guys, as it was for myself and my former teammates, it'd be more physical compared to the mental.
Yeah.
You know, you want to take care of your knees, your shoulders, any aches and pains you have this whole week, along with watching film, they're taking care of their bodies. After this national championship game, then we can look back and say we should have, we could have, but right now it's more physical.
You had to play against Oregon in the Rose Bowl a few years back. It's obviously a very different team. Both teams are very different, completely different head coaches for both sides. But one thing that's been consistent with Oregon since Chip Kelly got there is tempo, tempo, tempo.
Right.
You had to play against that. You had to prepare for that. How difficult is that tempo in real life?
It's very challenging. You know, I was more of a special teams player, kickoff demon as they called me, and even their tempo there, they would always come up with different schemes and try and blindside you. So on a defensive silver bullet unit, our Buckeyes have to be totally ready because they're going to come out with everything that they have because this is the national championship game.
Marcus Mariota's the Heisman Trophy winner, the best player in college football. He's probably going to be the top overall pick in the NFL draft coming up this spring as well. When you're preparing to go against a guy who can literally do it all, run, pass, the mental aspects, he's only thrown 3 picks all season long, the decision making that he has, what concerns you most? How do you prepare for a guy that can literally do it all?
He's an incredible football player. The whole world knows that. Yeah. It's going to come down to, Eric, my belief is each player doing their 1/11th. If we can do our job and know what every other position on the field is doing, you know, the Ohio State, you know, my brother to the left, I'm a cornerback. What's my safety doing? What's my linebacker doing? Then we're going to do just fine. Now, he's going to get his. Oregon's going to get some offense. They're going to put up points. But if we do our job, we will come out with a victory. I truly believe that.
You were able to be a part of a national championship game, but you guys didn't win one. What would it mean as an alum and as a guy who knows some of the guys on this team personally to see them win on Monday night?
It's hard to put in words, but it would mean the world, you know, because like you said, we had the opportunity to do that when I was a freshman at Ohio State, and we didn't get it done. So if these guys can do it, it'll be the first time since 2002. You know, Mike Doss, senior captain, Coach Tressel, that era, it would mean everything.
What is the X factor for you? What does it ultimately come down for you that Ohio State needs to do in order to win?
It's a team thing, no doubt. It's going to take the entire squad to do it. But I really feel like if Ezekiel Elliott has the game that he's been having versus Alabama, the game that he had against Wisconsin, he's the X factor. If he rushes for 200 yards again and that O-line does what they're supposed to do, along with the team, we win this game.
Before we get you out, I have to ask you who's going to win this game. Well, I know the answer of who you think is going to win this game, but give me a final score prediction, and how do you think this thing will play out?
It's tough for me to have a score for this game. I know we're going to win.
Right.
The Scarlet and Gray is going to be victorious. But I feel like this, if we hold Oregon to under, we'll say 28 points, the Buckeyes win.
And they get it done.
We get it done.
All right.
I say we score around 35, 42 points.
Okay. That might be enough. We'll see. Obviously, the Ducks score a lot of points, but we'll have to see. By the way, nice tie.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Go Bucks.